This is why I encourage the FDA to maintain its high standards of regulatory affairs.
Barry Belmont, welcome to One Detroit.
Happy to be here.
You're a lecturer in the Biomedical Engineering Department at the University of Michigan, and you've been thinking a lot about this vast influx of ventilators that are under production and being rushed to hospitals across the country, including to Michigan. I think President Donald Trump said last night that 400 more ventilators were coming to Michigan. You're looking at this, and obviously you think it's a good thing we're getting equipment, but you're worried about both quality control of such rapid production of these machines, and two, who's going to operate them?
That's exactly right. It's one thing to make sure that we have enough ventilators. Getting this 400 from the federal government, the strategic national stockpile, would be great. Ramping up production via Ford and General Motors is also fantastic, but we also need to make sure we have the trained personnel that can use them and use them appropriately when they're received.
How difficult is it? I mean, it's more than a matter of just plugging it in, right?
It would be great if we get to the point where it is plug and play, but for right now, yes, we need a trained physician, someone who understands hemodynamics and the respiratory system of their particular patient in order to fiddle with all the knobs and dials that come with these things. This includes controlling for tidal volume, peak expiratory pressures, the oxygen concentration, making sure that the patient is stabilized in a way that they need, and that requires a medical professional.
So is there any way to do this hurry up, Barry?
It would be great if we could. Right now, it will be taking existing medical professionals and giving them a crash course in what it means to do strategic intensive care control, making sure that we go to a hierarchical tiered training model where we have more people controlling more other medical professionals. So for instance, an ICU physician overseeing a team that might themselves, 4 teams that might oversee 24 patients each, rather than one ICU intensivist overseeing 96 patients themselves.
So not every hospital, if you think about rural areas, probably even have one person trained to do this.
That's entirely right. In fact, 47% of all hospitals in America have no ICU at all. And in fact, the vast majority of these are in metropolitan areas, with something like 95% of all ICU beds being contained in centers where there are 50,000 inhabitants or more. So yes, the challenge in rural America is even exacerbated ever that much more.
So is it possible, if you don't have the proper training, you don't have someone on the other side of that ventilator who knows exactly what they're doing, you could do more harm than good?
Yes, absolutely. And this is why I encourage the FDA to maintain its high standards of regulatory affairs, both in the production, in both the device itself and in the facilities that produce them.
So talk about the production. You've got a lot of companies, very well-intentioned companies, rushing production of these machines who have never made them before. What is your worry in that part of the process here?
Well, I suppose I can break that into 2 different worries, if we want to call it. There are 2 different concerns. The first is there are many companies that have never touched anything approaching a mechanical device, or a mechanical ventilator, trying to develop their own in-house ventilators, so-called bridge ventilators that can squeeze and regulate ambu bags, bag valve masks that can provide a sort of bridge ventilation. And my concern there is it's not as simple as simply pushing air into a patient's lung. You need to make sure that there's a control of inspiration and expiration, that certain pressures are maintained to keep the airways controlled. So the new batch of home-brewed ventilators does give me pause. The other hand, there are facilities such as those by Ford and General Motors, which are maybe perfect to ramp up production of existing models. My concern here is that there is some inertia that needs to be developed in order to push these forward. While Ford Ford with Aeron Corporation and General Motors with Venttech are taking existing models and scaling up production, they need to make sure that they do call upon the experts in those companies and elsewhere to make sure that they're doing things right and abide by everything that the FDA requires of them.
Have you had a chance to look at this new ventilator invented by Dyson? They invented it, and the company, vacuum cleaner company, invented it in about 10 days, and they're rushing out 15,000 of them. Completely new ventilators, supposedly designed specifically for COVID-19. Have you had a chance to look at that at all?
I've looked at some of the renderings online. I haven't delved into any of the actual schematics. I would, I suppose that would fall somewhere in between the two concerns I had, because Dyson, on the one hand, knows how to mass produce mechanical devices that are controlling air, but on the other hand, they've never been required to push that air into a critically ill patient. So while they have, at the one hand, expertise on air dynamics and mass manufacturing, they might lack that sort of third ingredient of understanding the physiology necessary. Hopefully they've called upon any number of experts to help them with that, but I do have my concerns.
Finally, Barry, where does your optimism lie in all of this?
My optimism lies in the fact that we have vacuum cleaner companies mass producing ventilators, that we have space companies trying to get into these games, that we have the automotive manufacturers here in Michigan coming up with ways that they can use their existing infrastructure to make possible what we never would have thought possible. It's the all hands on deck approach, and I'm glad that there are more helping hands than ever.
And how are you all at the University of Michigan Biomedical Engineering Department? How are you engaged?
In any number of facets. Here at the University of Michigan, we have the hospital engaging in actual critical care of many in the area, including Ann Arbor itself. We have researchers that are studying COVID-19. We have engineers that are helping with Ford, with General Motors, to help them with their tests, with their production facilities. As a point of personal privilege, there are 200 top 10 programs here at the University of Michigan, which means we have experts wherever you need them, and all you need to do is call upon some of us, and hopefully we can all go blue and also go there together.
Barry Belmont, University of Michigan, go blue.
Go blue. Thank you for having me.
You can find more at onedetroitpbs.org or subscribe to our social media channels and sign up for our One Detroit newsletter.